So now that the Nintendo Direct is behind us and we have some new game reveals, some updates for release dates and DLC and all of that, I kind of wanted to look forward because this does appear to be it for the Nintendo Switch. At least that's the conversation going on right now online, that what we are looking at is kind of like the waning year of the system as we start to move over to Nintendo's next generation device. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that here today and sort of expand on some of the games coming up, as we did have one of those really cool graphics made that kind of showcases the rest of the year as well as like the first half of 2024. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if new here to the Spawn Wave channel. So this was posted up over on Reddit for the Nintendo Switch from @Dragons, and they typically do this after an event like a Nintendo Direct happens, and kind of just makes this nice graphic, putting all the different titles for games in the corresponding month that it's coming out, and they'll also code it up to where it's like console exclusive, Switch exclusive, all that kind of stuff, right? But more or less, I'm interested kind of to see the path forward, and then some of the games that do still need to have updates or release windows or dates or any of that. So starting with August, of course, we've gone through that. So looking back, obviously Red Dead Redemption was a pretty big one to have, because Rockstar going to Nintendo does make you kind of think about the path forward for Nintendo with their new system coming up that I think is going to be maybe surprise some people when it comes to what it's capable of. Although I would argue that the current Switch has kind of done that at times, right, with things like The Witcher 3. Still, though, also Sea of Stars is in there. I do recommend that if you have not played it. Really, really cool game, and it looks awesome on the Switch OLED, by the way. Moving up to September, though, I have had people tell me to check out 30XX. I will get around to it at some point. Otherwise, though, we do have the Dragon Quest Infinity Strash game that is out September 28th. At Mortal Kombat 1, which I am currently playing through the story on, and it's pretty good, I would say. I don't really have experience with it on the Switch, although RGT mentioned it looked good enough. It was serviceable, I guess, for what you would expect going into that. And then, of course, the Pokemon Scarlet Violet DLC with the teal mask. But really, when you get up to October, things start to pick up, and that's where it would really get interesting with Disgaea 7. Actually, I believe the demo's out for that one. Disgaea, I'm in and out of that series here and there. They definitely take a while to get through, and they can get pretty ridiculous, but it's, I would say, been a pretty steady strategy RPG. But Sonic Superstars, obviously that's one I'm going to be checking out. Batman Arkham Trilogy, if nothing else, for just Arkham Knight on the Switch and just to see how that runs. I think that'll be at least somewhat interesting there. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is going to be Nintendo's big release for the holiday. That's it. Goes along with what they have, obviously, with the Super Mario movie, which Mario's already popular. The Super Mario movie just continues to raise that popularity and awareness in the mainstream. People who maybe have been out of games in general took their kids to go see Mario and were like, wow, I would like to play a new Mario game. There you go. I think that's going to push Switch units pretty well this holiday season too, especially as the Switch is kind of on the road now to try to catch up to the DS and the PS2. There's really nothing else between it and that. So yeah, I'm kind of expecting it to actually get there. Especially with a longer cross-gen period that may be in the cards. Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection. Hard for me to get excited for that one, specifically on the Switch. That might be one where I get one of the games on the Switch just to check it out and see how it is. But the fact that it's going to be 30 frames per second is unfortunate. That might be one that I end up picking up on like the PS5 or something, just as long as it's all on the disc, and even then we'll see, because it does appear that the Switch version is going to have a majority of it is downloaded like outright, which, yeah, again, unfortunate. Konami, they just, for some reason, there's got to be some drawback there with them when it comes to this. You feel like they would have learned their lesson and come out with a high quality release for the Metal Gear Solid franchise with these older titles, but well, it should at least be better than the Vita version, but that was rough, where Metal Gear Solid 2, especially on like the tanker mission, would drop into like the teens for frame rate. Maybe that's a good comparison, since they're technically both mobile systems as well, right, on mobile chipsets. But still, Metal Gear Solid 1, if you have not checked it out, it's still definitely awesome to see now. And Metal Gear Solid 2, play through that, get to the end. Tell me how you think that one's aged with some of the stuff they were talking about there. Star Ocean, right here. Okay, Second Story R, played the demo. The game is awesome. Yeah, highly recommend that one. The visual style is so striking in that game. If you've played the demo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It has the modern 3D backgrounds, but then the sprites are kind of like 2D. They're kind of straight out of like the early PS1 days with those RPGs for the character models. I absolutely love it. Really, really cool stuff. The voice acting was on point, everything. So yeah, I'm on board with that one. Day one, picking it up November 2nd. Not too far away. And we also have King of Fighters heading to the Switch, Persona 5 Tactica, Super Mario RPG. Again, you can kind of see there's a lot of stuff happening between like that second week of October and then all through September. So, I mean, like Super Mario RPG, obviously, I'm picking that up right away. Biomutant, I'll be curious to see how that one runs. It was kind of sketchy at times on the Xbox when I played it, when it came out then. And going into December, Dragon Quest Monsters. Have not played one of those I played the one on the DS, what feels like ages ago. But I'm interested. I'll definitely be checking that one out. Then we get into just the fall in general. What's there? Calico, Roman Sands, Winter, still waiting for Eastward. Of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the final part of that booster course, waiting for the release date on that. We just need to get that out so we can all collectively move on from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think it's had its time in the sun. We're good. Just need to go on to the next one. I don't want to hear Nintendo show up to the Direct where they're showcasing the new system and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus is there with all the DLC included. I think we're good. Let's move on to the next one now. But then we get into some of the stuff that's pretty interesting because they don't have release dates. They're still marked maybe with 2023. And some people are wondering if they're even going to be on the current Switch hardware. Maybe they're being saved for next generation even. But we'll talk about that in a second. First of all, Deca Police, I've seen this off and on here and there from level 5, and I would like this game to come out and just be good. High quality, level 5, gets a really good release out there. People are enjoying it, because I kind of feel like they need it somewhat, and Tokyo Game Show's coming up. I feel like that will be there, and maybe we'll get the release date, since apparently it's still marked for 2023, and well, it's halfway through September. Wouldn't be shocked if that game just ends up in 2024, like a February or March release. Although February's starting to get packed with RPGs, so that's going to be interesting to see where they can place that. Maybe a good December release, like first week of December. I don't know. It's getting crowded, so we'll see. And then I noticed that Star Wars Hunters is still down here. This was a game, if you remember, that came from the studio that had been in a report that they had a Switch 2 development kit, and then they had to come out and like deny it, and now people are still wondering, okay, well then where's Star Wars Hunters? Is that actually on this Switch hardware or what? And apparently they still are saying, oh no, it's on that Switch. It's just taking us longer than maybe we thought it would, or we want to spend some more time with it. So keep an eye on that one. And then also, of course, I mean, come on, Lord of the Rings Gollum. We got to get the high quality stuff out already. Anyway, then we get to 2024, Prince of Persia. I'm ready for that one. Looks really, really good. Another Code Recollection on the fence there. I don't know if that's my kind of game. It's like supposed to be like the point and click adventure puzzle game from the DS, and then one from the Wii that never came out outside of Japan. We'll see how it does now. I'll get some people's opinions on it before I go ahead and pick that one up. Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 Remastered. I'm on that immediately. That looks good in the sense that it still appears to be keeping the experience from those original 3. I'm still curious how the controls will line up and if they do anything to tinker with those. Otherwise, though, they just have the updated visuals. You switch back and forth between the old and the new on the fly, and I think that'd be pretty fun revisiting those old games in that way. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that is the remake of the Game Boy Advanced game, and I mean, it looks fun. It looks like it could be fun. Me personally, I'm sure many other people out there were hoping for the next big DK game, Donkey Kong, and I think we're still going to get that for the next system, the next generation device from Nintendo. Unfortunately, this isn't it. And I mentioned February in general is going to start to get kind of packed. We're already seeing it with all these different RPGs. That might be one that I kind of put on the back burner for a bit and just check out when I have some more time. Unicorn Overlord looks like it could be fun, but the name is just hilarious, obviously. But then, I mean, you can see just a couple of weeks later, Princess Peach Showtime comes out, and I will admit, it looks better than I was expecting. I didn't get into Princess Peach on the DS or anything. I mean, I was aware of it. I saw it. But this looks more creative than what I thought was going to happen, which was like just a 2D platformer. This looks like they're altering gameplay elements to it, and almost like they took multiple games and kind of just pushed them together. So I'm curious as to how that one turns out when it comes to the different forms that Peach takes and how that affects the game around her. Eiyuden Chronicle, I've been keeping up with that one. I will be checking that out when it comes out. Unfortunately, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney never got into the Ace Attorney games, so it's not really something I've been following or kept up with. I'm aware of, obviously, Ace Attorney, but I've just never gotten into the games themselves. Contra, Operation Galuga. Yeah, I'll check that out. It's Konami stepping aside and handing the intellectual property to WayForward. WayForward does some pretty good work. Okay, later 2024 and unconfirmed. This is where things get kind of interesting, and I mostly wanted to touch on... Well, there's definitely two big ones I want to touch on here, and you're probably already looking at one of them. A lot of these games look really good. Obviously, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, that's one of my favorite games on the GameCube. You guys know I'm a big-time GameCube fan, collector for the system. That is one of the top-tier GameCube games that you can own, that you can play. Still holds up now if you have like an HDMI adapter for the GameCube, progressive scan, the whole thing. It looks great, and that's just really the art style that they went with, which you can see comes through beautifully in the new visuals that they have for it. It's an awesome game. Fully recommend it. I know there's been some back and forth on the pricing at $60, but this is a game that Nintendo basically is releasing because they've been tapped on the shoulder over and over again by fans. They're giving them what they want, and they're saying, well, you got to pay for it. That's just this business. That's the way it goes. So I think there's enough game there just from the original, which goes for like $100 some odd on eBay. And there's always the chance that Nintendo maybe does a little bit more with it when it comes to content. So keep an eye on that one. I think there's still some stuff we're not seeing with that one. But otherwise, clearly people are looking at Metroid Prime 4. I've seen discussion that this game is not going to be on the current Switch and that it may end up as a title for next generation and they just kind of skip this. I don't think so. So Metroid Prime 4 is going to come out on the current Switch, yes. But I think this could be a cross-gen game. And what I mean by that is similar to the Breath of the Wild situation, where that was shown as a Wii U game for a while, even with like the gamepad functionality. They eliminated that, but they still kept it on the Wii U, right? And then they also put it on the Switch to kind of showcase what the Switch could do, specifically in portable mode. If you remember, they made the rounds for the marketing. They were on like the Jimmy Fallon show, all this stuff. And they wanted to really show that this really impressive game with Breath of the Wild worked fine as a handheld game because of what the Switch could do. So I think Metroid Prime 4 could work similarly in that Retro could really take advantage of the additional horsepower and functionality when it comes to the newer Tegra chip. And if it is indeed utilizing ray tracing like we're hearing, I mean, look at Samus's suit. It seems like it is custom made, like tailor made to showcase all the different things they can do with the lighting tricks and stuff with ray tracing. Metroid is just a really good aesthetic for all of that. So I would love to see Retro get a shot at doing that while also still appeasing the current Switch owners, because let's face it, the game was announced in 2017 as a Switch title. So I think it would be a really bad move for Nintendo to just go, no, we're going right to the next system. We're not going to release it on the platform that people have been waiting the entire generation to get it on. Give the option, have it on the Switch. I think that makes sense. Now, the other one that is really interesting here is Genshin Impact. So, to my understanding, Genshin Impact is kind of having a hard time on the Switch, like running. And I almost wonder if that one will skip the current platform and just opt to be on the next Nintendo system. And it could be RAM related, could just be that the Tegra X1 with how it's set up in the Switch is just not working out for them. But I think that is a general, like a serious possibility that they leave the current Switch behind and it's just there. Maybe that's a game they show off when Nintendo does their big event like they did in January for the original Switch, and they had a bunch of games that are show off. Genshin Impact, a very popular title, especially in Japan, where Nintendo sells a ton of systems. That would make a lot of sense to showcase next to it as a game that, well, if you want to be able to play it on your hybrid Nintendo system, you got to get the new one. But I will say, as I scroll through this list of games, especially coming to 2024, some of the unannounced 2023 stuff, let's face it, will probably fall into 2024. I mean, if this is it for the Switch, I think it's a pretty good lineup to kind of go out on and then fade into the next system. And I do feel like that probably by the end of, April, we'll know about their next system. Nintendo will have acknowledged it, and they might have already set up a time to really showcase it, give us a look at it, maybe even ahead of that normal quote-unquote E3 time period in June. And if this is really what's going to run us there, with maybe Paper Mario being one of the last big releases from Nintendo before the next system hype takes over, I think that's a pretty good send-off for the system. It obviously had a really good run, and I think it can still get to that 155, 160 million mark, because even after the next device comes out, Nintendo will still support the current Switch with some releases, much like they did with the 3DS when the Switch was out. But pretty good couple of months coming up, and then going into 2024, some stuff that Nintendo fans have really been wanting to come out, something like Paper Mario. So still exciting stuff for the Switch, but certainly some really exciting times ahead for what's after the Switch. And again, I think this is it, and not a bad lineup to go out on. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below, whether it's games you're looking forward to. Do you think Metroid Prime 4 is going to opt out of the current system and be only on the next device? And how do you think the cross-generation period will go? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.